Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I've got some Q&A from William. Before we get into that, a couple of links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. All of those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that really don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. Also, I'd like to pray for everybody who is out there today. We are in our approximate second week of quarantine, and it's getting really hard. I know that a couple of my subscribers are worldwide. A gentleman who I conversate frequently in Italy. I've got some subscribers in India and Egypt, Scotland, England. I hope that all of you guys are okay. I can't wait until this is over and we can get back onto our normal lives. This is definitely taking its toll on myself mentally, and it's getting hard, and I pray for everybody out there. And with that, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's encounters, shall we? Hello, Jeff. Daryl Ogle asks about a woman fumbling with her keys trying to get in, and one of the cryptids speak to her saying you can't get in or something to that effect. And also another subscriber had heard of this happening also. I personally don't know about this happening, but the only one of the big three that have vocal cords that allow the speech is the werewolf. And he is the only one that can speak English language. Daryl, I do know that encounter that you're talking about, and it's a subscriber of mine. I narrated that encounter probably 2 years ago. The woman was pulling into her home. She had 2 kids with her. She had one in her hands and fumbled with the keys to get in. At first, prior to William, I thought it was a Dogman. Now we know it was definitely a werewolf. A Jar of Pickles asks, what is the cognitive ability of these creatures? Would I say that they have near human intelligence? Also, do we keep every type of cryptid in our facility? Of the 8 core cognitive skills, the werewolf will have 6 of them. The Bigfoot will use 4 of them, and the Dogman only 3. No, they don't have the intelligence of a human, or we would not be able to track them down. Even though most of the agents that do this work have a higher than normal IQ, now only 2 cryptids we have are the Dogman and the werewolf. We have 1 male Dogman and 5 females for him. And then we have 1 male werewolf and 6 females for him. We have domestic animals that we train with that should not attack as well as farm animals also. Wolfric Ridley asks, will there be any pictures of them? Yes, after I'm able to retire, I will be able to show pictures of both dead and alive creatures. Mike Naborowski asks, did Linda Godfrey get to look at one of the black files? As to the best of my knowledge, she was shown 2 different files. As to what they held in them, I do not know that. Mario Trevino asks, does Raphael also speak? The answer to that is his vocal cords are not developed enough for speech, as none of the Dogman are. Archangel 03 asks, has Lee County, Virginia popped up on your radar yet? Yes, we have had a couple of calls about farm animals being bitten, but no deaths that I'm aware of at this time. Sounds to me like you have some more information that I may need to know. Please contact Jeff and let him know that I asked you to contact him and give him as much detail as you have, and let me see what I can do. About myself are one of our agents coming and checking it out personally. Thank you for waiting on your response. Benjamin Dean asks, I have a serious Dogman problem getting in my trash every night. Can you please tell me what to do? Benjamin, is there any way you can wait till morning to put the trash out? Also, he has found to find a good food supply, so when we cut that off, things are probably going to get intense for the good long while. I don't know how you know it to be a Dogman. Have you seen it? Also, do you have a gun large enough to kill it with? And is your aim good? The only one of the suggestions I would recommend would be using floodlights on sensors to pick up movement, then come on. If you don't feel you can do these things, contact Jeff, give him as much detail as possible, and let me see if I can or one of the agents get down there to help you out of this situation. It could turn deadly. Wolfkey asks, can I communicate with Raphael like I do with Sebastian? The answer to that is no. His vocal cords are not as developed as Sebastian's are because he is a Dogman. Still Tippin 2020 asks, do I know about two cousins being attacked at Mosquito Lake by a Bigfoot? There's nothing in our files about this happening at any time in the past. No record pulls up, sorry. I believe there was a lady who drove her car into the lake a few years back with her kids inside, and she was able to get out of her car. The kids drowned. They were in their car seats when it happened, and she was later convicted because she drove the car in there on purpose, if I'm remembering right. That would be the lake that it happened at. Annalisa Kelly asks, what are the signs that they are in your area around your house? When you exit your home, all of the noise will be silent. No crickets, no nothing will be making any noise to be heard. Second, all the wildlife, like your deer, turkey, your wild animals, will be gone. You will not see any of them any longer. Next, the farm animals will start getting attacked. The cows, horses, things on the farm will be killed and partially eaten. Next will come the domestic animals, your cats and dogs, and pets that are left outside at night will start coming up missing. Then after that, if they don't leave the area, which they should do after each episode of running out of something to eat, they will start hunting human and not skip a beat or take a person down without missing a beat. Keith Riverside asks, have I ever encountered either these two other beasts and where in the United States? What other two beasts are you talking about, Keith? David Bueller asks, are cryptids attracted to psychic or sensitive people more? David, I can't honestly answer that question for you as I don't know the correct answer. If I was to take a shot in the dark, and that's all it will be, is no, because Raphael cannot read my mind. If I am mad at him, he will still want attention like he's done nothing wrong. Brian McCoy asks, does Bigfoot really get 15 foot tall and weigh 2 tons? Brian, this one I just killed is the biggest I have killed. And I saw one in Washington State that was at least 12 feet tall and maybe weighed 800 pounds. But I've never seen anything like what you are describing in a Bigfoot. I'm sorry. Mary Ann Williamson Hinkle asks, why did you choose Jeff's channel? Well, I watched several channels for about 5 to 6 months before I approached Jeff and told him who I was and what I did for a living. He said to send him a story, and with my work schedule and everything that goes on in my line of work, I was looking for far emails to be pressuring me for it, but all I ever got from Jeff was concerned and checking up on my emails. It was like I had made a new friend overnight that was willing to help me after I had explained I was looking for a place to unload some of the trauma from life, and he is still willing to help even to this day. That's why I picked Jeff's channel, and I found it to be the most honest of all I've listened to, and the most one with the least bullshit going on. Mark Schillinghoff asks, he actually made a statement that sounds like most agents don't last long. This got me thinking, Mark, and I checked the records after you stated this, and since I have been in, I'd be able to retire on April 9th of 2020. I would have 35 years. There would be agents that made it to retirement, which is 25 years or more. Groovy G asked, how did the government manage to weaponize these creatures? They did it by using some type of mind alterations. That's also how they know their targets and everything of that type. That needed to be done. The handlers only need to get them close to the target. Frederick Hillman asks, do I know if viruses impact cryptids? Frederick, I'm sorry to say that I do not know this, but it was on some post the other night that a couple's cat had it, but they both had the virus, and it was an indoor kept animal. Timothy Walker asks, people find tracks of these creatures all of the time, but then they just disappear. Where do they go when this happens? That's when your tracking ability comes into play. They just don't vanish. They are there somewhere. You just have to circle around till you find them again and then start to follow them. Again, they may jump 3, 4, 5 times, and you're talking 25 feet each time at least. So most people want to look that far out for another set of tracks, because that creature cannot get there like that, but yes, he can with ease as well. Bear Attack 322 asks, have I compared my cases to my father's cases? I have, and his most famous case being the LBL in 1982, and mine being, I don't know which one. I have double his caseload, and I have a copy of each of his cases, and I also have a copy of each of mine. There are a lot to compare with each other, just like a loss of an agent life and things like that. Some of the weapons used back then weren't as powerful as what we have today, and the creatures, except for the werewolves, are not as fierce as what we have today. Graphic Truth asks, statement, always look up when hunting, they could be in the trees. Graphic, I'm usually pretty alert as to what is around me above and below. Being in that swamp and what all the locals had told us, and the weather the way it was, I was paying too much attention to the ground at this time, and I knew I was, but it all worked out except for Jay, and he disobeyed just about every order he was given, so I can't say that I feel totally at fault for what happened to him on this hunt. He wanted to act that way, I let him, and he lost. Sean Reed asks, could I talk about shapeshifters a little bit? A person with the ability to change themselves in a living creature, such as a wolf or any other desirable wild animal. Andrea Gable asks, am I concerned that I may be silenced for sharing this information? Well, I was not till Sebastian said something, but now that I've started to watch my back a little closer, and I've met all the new agents, and they all seem to be team players, really. And I called and hired a 12-man today, a young Marine, and knew his dad. I know he will watch my back. Plus, once I get my retirement, if they come after me in the Colorado, they will have about 4 miles of road, and they want to get me there unless they blast me out, LOL. It will be one hell of a firefight anyway. Lilith Aram asks, would I want any of my sons to follow in my footsteps? Have I seen the Gable film? Is it real? And what creature is in it? I have 5 sons. All went into the Marine Corps like I did. 3 are game warden state level, 1 is a deputy sheriff, and 1 is a drug addict. Yes, I am familiar with the Gable film. Yes, it is real, and the man that said to played the part of the beast is not telling us the truth. If you will watch the film over and over, you will catch a frame where it has all four legs off the ground, and that's impossible for a human to run down in that position and keep all four legs and hands off the ground. As to what it is a deformed Dogman, and I forget the date, but there is a hospital report on the date with one Chris Gable coming into the hospital with severe arm and hand wounds from an animal attack that he claimed to be from a Doberman Pinscher. But when the law checked it out at the house it was supposed to have happened at, there was no sign of a dog, and they figured the owner moved the dog to protect it from getting put down. Here you go, Jeff. I hope these were just in time for you, as there were several more I wanted to do from last night's episode, but couldn't get them done in time for you to use for tonight. Hope you can use these. There are some good questions. Well, part 2 of today's episode is a little something that I stumbled across. With William sharing so much information with us, I was just curious. He had stated that his dad was before him, and I got thinking about monster hunters or cryptid hunters. There was the famous Indian who killed the Wendigos. Right offhand, I cannot remember his name, but after I'm done recording and probably rendering this, I will. Who was actually charged with murder. So I started looking and digging deep into the internet, and I found this, and it's pretty interesting. At first I thought it was folklore, but then I found a death certificate, which completely stunned me. So here goes. The Gwoogle, Clinton County, Pennsylvania's official monster. Let's say you're out hiking. You're on one of the trails in Clinton County. It doesn't matter which one, choose your favorite, but imagine you're hiking in the woods and you look up ahead and see a creature on the trail. It seems to be a mismatch of several animals, with a base animal being a wolf. You raise your camera to get a photo, but it darts into the forest. You've just encountered the Gwoogle, and it's the official monster of Clinton County. Stories of the Gwoogle date back to the mid-1800s, and on June 21st, 2011, the government of Clinton County proclaimed it to be their official monster. It's a creature of legend, and if you're lucky, you might even spot one. The Gwoogle was, according to legend, a kind of artificial werewolf creature that could be conjured or summoned by a witch. Legends of this thing were in West Keating Township back in the 1800s, where an old woman named Belle Conifer told her grandchildren bedtime stories about the thing. Her grandson, George Roan, was so affected by these stories, he grew up to write them down in the Keystone Folklore Quarterly, preserving them for future generations. The Gwoogle is not the easiest creature in the world to physically describe. It was about 6 feet tall, shaped like a wolf, and stood on its back legs. Instead of its front paws, it had bird claws, and instead of back feet, it had horse's hooves. This was to confuse trackers trying to follow it. The legend all involved local women, who was believed to be witches, casting spells to conjure up one of these things. Then a nearby farmer offended them. They would send the Gwoogle to harness the farmer, which often took the form of annoying stunts and petty vandalism. The Gwoogles didn't seem to be violent for the most part. Farmers would wake up and find their crops trampled, tools damaged, the Gwoogle tracks all around the barn. In one of the favorite bits, a farmer found his cows frightened and trying to smoke a portion of the cornstalk. There is a hero figure that often appears in these stories. Loop Hill Ike. Loop Hill Ike lived in Keaton Township and was depicted in the stories as a sort of freelance paranormal expert. In many old legends from the area, he was said to be the only guy who could help with witches, ghosts, and definitely the Gwoogle. The farmers would ask him for his help, and Ike would counteract the spells. If that didn't work, he would grab his shotgun, go to the witch's cabin, and burn it down. Loop Hill Ike was not a man to mess with. Loop Hill Ike was actually based on a real guy, Isaac Gaines. Gaines lived in Keaton area from 1835 to 1915 and was the grandson of an escaped slave from Virginia. He married into the Conifer family, which means Sarah Conifer told her grandson stories that cast his own uncle as sort of a professional monster hunter, as Isaac Gaines has been buried in the Faust McGongale Cemetery in Clearfield County area since 1915. It's safe to say he's dead by now. Oddly, people driving near the Clearfield-Clinton border have reported seeing bipedal wolves running aside of the road with a quick glance. A Gwoogle might easily be described as a bipedal wolf, so perhaps the creatures are lurking around the grave of their old adversary. The Gwoogle has even been known to get closer to civilization, though it's been a while. In February of 1909, when a panic over the Jersey Devil reached its peak, creatures were sighted at night, lurking on rooftops in downtown Lockhaven. The newspapers speculated at the time that this might be the Gwoogle, coming into town in search of prey. Is the Gwoogle real, or is it an old legend? It's hard to say for sure, but one thing is certain: when you're visiting Clinton and Clearfield counties, both located along I-80 frontier landscape of Pennsylvania wilds, bring your camera and don't offend any witches. So, I did find Isaac Gaines's certificate of death, which is very cool. So cool, in fact, I printed it out. And it's legit. It's a legit death certificate. Isaac Loop Hill Ike Gaines, Sr., born 1837, death 1915, aged 77 to 78. McGongale Cemetery, Portersdale, Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, United States. Memorial ID 1920-32085. You guys can look that up and actually see the birth or the death certificate. And yeah, it's a legit. It blew me away. He died on September 9th of 1915. He died of tuberculosis, it looks like. But yeah, it's very, very cool. For those of you guys who can't find it and want to see it, email me and I will send you a picture of the certificate of death. Very interesting and very cool cryptid hunter lore or nostalgia, I guess. I don't know. I had a huge smile on my face when I found this last night. I was blown away. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed today's upload as much as I enjoyed it with you guys. Sorry for being down. I don't know. I guess this whole thing is taking its toll on me. I can't wait to be able to leave the house without worrying about anything. This is just crazy, you know. I don't even know. I'm terrified to leave the house. I want to leave the house. I'll stand in my driveway to get some air or something, but, it's just, I had surgery in December, and I was hoping that I'd be able to go for walks and not have to worry about anything. It's crazy, and I never realized how much my freaking 12-year-old daughter ate. Jesus, she can just eat and eat and eat, and it's crazy. I'm like, 2 Gatorades a day, and she drinks 2 more than 2, and I'm like, stop it. I know you guys are going through the same thing, so you know what I'm talking about. This is insane. Insane. All right, guys. Well, my prayers go out to everybody. And also, real quick, a guy last night, when I said we nation, apparently this offended somebody because he said, don't speak for me because we are not a we nation. Well, buddy, you're the reason why these bullshit problems throughout America happen. Not the virus, but nobody getting along. It's people like you and the attitude you have. If everyone realized that we were all human beings and we bled and died and this and that, maybe we would all get along. And with that, guys, farewell.